Well, in the spirit of appeasing the Ford lovers, here we're going to talk about my friend Tony's 1968 Ford XL Fastback with the GT Equipment Group. 1968, as I've mentioned before, was the first year for these hidden headlights, not just on the LTD, but also on the XL. As you can see here, the lower-end Galaxy 500 did not have hidden headlights. It had exposed headlights. And the XL had this Fastback roofline in 1968 that was shared with the Mercury Monterey's and also the Mercury Park Lanes in coupe form. The LTD coupes went with a more formal roofline as opposed to this. If you got the GT Equipment Group, you got the wide oval tires, similar to what you see here. You had to have the 390 or the 428 cubic inch V8. This vehicle does have the GT Equipment Group, and it has the 390 cubic inch 2 Venturi V8. The 390 was an optional engine in these. The standard engine in the XL Fastback was actually a 240 cubic inch 6-cylinder engine making 150 horsepower. Optional was a 302 cubic inch V8 making 210 horsepower. Then this engine was next optional, making 265 horsepower. Beautiful XL badge, by the way, there. Tony added this as an NOS piece. And then you got the 390 that was 315 horsepower, or the 428, which was making 340 horsepower. And Tony is pointing out here that the XL badge, if you got it a coupe, was on the sail panel on the convertible. It's on the rear quarter panel. So obviously it didn't have a sail panel on the convertibles. The XL nomenclature started in 1962 when it denoted a sportier up-level version of the Galaxy 500. But by this point, it was its own model, and Ford ended up selling quite a few of these XLs. They sold 55,000 of these hardtop coupes. They sold about 7,400 convertibles. I think it's just a wonderful looking roofline on this particular vehicle for a sportier car. This particular car is finished in a color called Highland Green. It was also used on Mercury's, but it was called Augusta Green there. It's the exact same color, same Ditzler code. But I think it looks especially good on these big cars. I don't know about anybody else, but I think dark green looks great on the big full-size cars of the 1960s and 1970s. Take a look on the inside here, and you can see what's making this XL very special. This does have the optional bucket seats with the center console and the horseshoe shifter, and the RPM gauge is there right in the middle of the center console. The dashboard is very similar to the LTD. You can see all of the faux wood grain trim there. And the rest of the interior, the back seat at least, has very similar finishings to what the base LTD would have had. You also have the standard equipment Ford LTD steering wheel, similar to what all Fords used for 1968 after they changed from the flower pot wheel of 1967 that was also used on all Fords. And here we have a look at the front end. You notice that the hood has that power dome. And it doesn't have the Crown logo from the LTD, but it certainly has the Crown sheet metal that's got the crown shape to the hood, to the bumper in plan view or view from the bird's eye standpoint, and even the sides of the fenders at the front there have kind of a crown shape from the side view. So a number of the LTD styling themes really carried over here into the XL. The grille is also the same texture as the LTD. So in general, the XL was just a sporty vehicle, although it's not too sporty with a 240 cubic inch 6-cylinder engine and a bench seat in it, but that's what you would get standard in the 1968 model year, and at least you look cool driving down the road. 1968 was the penultimate year for the XL. 1970 would be its last model year before it would be sunset. And then you would have to get a Galaxy 500 where you could get a number of different roof configurations. But this XL represents one of the last years where this was actually a model classification as opposed to just having a Galaxy 500 with a different roofline. We talked a little bit about the engine options for this vehicle, but let's take a look at the particular 390 cubic inch 2 Venturi engine that's under hood of this Highland Green 1968 XL now. So here's the 390 cubic inch engine in this particular XL, and see if you can notice anything strange about it. If you're a true Ford aficionado, you should be able to tell. Well, the answer is that this is clearly a non-AC car. You can tell there's obviously no air conditioning compressor, and the heater core is located there on the firewall in full visibility as opposed to tucked behind the passenger side fender. The answer here is that this has an air conditioning fan shroud, and you can't quite see it, but behind the fan shroud is a declutching fan, which was not stock for non-air conditioning cars. Off to the left, they were pointing to the starter relay and the power window feed line that goes up to the relay here on the firewall. You can convert these cars to power windows pretty easily, which is what Tony has done. This was a manual car with crank windows. The door cards have the power window switches in the same location as the crank handle, so that's easy. And then you just basically drill 2 holes in the firewall. There are dimples there, and add the relay, add the wiring, and you're good to go. Here you can see the single actuator for the hidden headlamps right there. That's it, as I'm pointing to it. And you can see there's a rag joint on either side and a rod. And those headlamp doors open at the same time and rotate the same amount. Later Fords would use 2 different headlamp actuators. I'm not sure why they went to a more expensive setup with 2 headlamp actuators, but they were actually more poorly designed actuators that tended to rust out from the inside more so than these single actuator designs. Tony's pointing out these slats here on the fender that were exclusive to the XL, as I previously mentioned. We'll take one last look around the car here, but again, just a super attractive design. It's really interesting to me that Ford went to a different semi-formal roofline on the LTD coupes. I have no idea why they did that and got rid of the 1967 LTD coupe roofline and just left that for Mercury. Ford wanted their own exclusive roofline on the LTDs for whatever reason, and of course these XLs have this fastback roofline that was shared, as I mentioned previously, with the Mercury. So Ford spent a lot of money on rooflines during this year, although they did share a number of components with the LTD and the XL. Clearly, the tail lamp treatment, the trunk treatment, the badge is different, but also the fenders, the hood, and the doors, and the glass, of course. So quite a bit similar. In any case, hope you enjoyed the spotlight on this beautiful Highland Green 1968 Ford XL GT Fastback. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out the video thumbnails at bottom left and bottom right for some suggestions for you. And stay tuned for more walkarounds from this particular show. It's from a show called Motor Muster. Happens at Greenfield Village every year. Highly recommend it. Lots of cars, hundreds of vehicles that you can take a look at. And if you haven't yet, check out Tony's YouTube channel. That's Tony's Car Care on YouTube. Thanks again for watching.